welcome back to the Untouchaballs podcast. Caden and Leo here. Caden, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, Max. How about yourself?
I can't say the same, Caden, because what we saw this past Sunday was tragic. It was a
Yeah.
tragedy, so I guess we should hop right into it and talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and Shea Alexander are now your 2025 NBA champions. Caden, take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky enough to get a game seven. There's a lot of people that see this series going seven. This is our first game seven we saw since 2016. So
I told
it
you it's
had been
going
a long
seven.
time. It had been a long time. You did say it was going seven. And for the first half, the Pacers were right in this game. They were leading at halftime. They started off the third quarter not too bad, but then the turnovers came, and they came in abundance. Where I think they had eight, I think it was eight turnovers alone just in that third quarter. They were going on runs where the Thunder would go up a couple, all of a sudden they'd hit some threes, get back right into it, and then it would be like there's a one stretch, it's tied. I forget exactly what it was tied at. I think maybe 56. I don't remember exactly. It might have been, but Pacers make a three to tie it. Thunder go down. Shea finally makes his first three of the game. Turnover, Thunder three. Turnover, Thunder three. Now they're up six. Pacers are calling a timeout. And that right there really started the downfall, really, of this game for the Pacers, where they had a 1 point lead at half, and then they get outscored by 14 in that third quarter, primarily just because they couldn't keep the ball in their own hands. And that results in the Thunder doing what they do best, playing one of the best defenses of all time. Force turnovers, create those fast break points, points off turnovers, expand that lead. And then when it got up there, basically they got it up to 20, over 20 at some points. It's like, yeah, okay, this game's over now. And they just kind of cruised in the fourth quarter, controlled it for their first title since moving to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Caden, like you mentioned, this Thunder team is so dangerous. They are so good when they're able to get out to those leads. And when you talk about going into that fourth, when you get up to these 20-point deficits, even with a team like the Pacers, who's been so resilient all year long, when you have your leader go down in the first quarter, Caden, we haven't even mentioned the fact that Tyrese Halliburton,
Yep.
who suffered the torn Achilles, the third torn Achilles
Of the
uh,
playoffs.
of the playoffs, which has been ridiculous. But yeah, it goes to show you that this season's long. It's tiring. A lot of those players, are beat, or you know, they're sore, they're exhausted, and when you go down 20 like that to a team who's so comfortable winning, so good at causing chaos, so disruptive in the passing lanes, hand checking, they're getting after the ball, they're doing everything they can to make your life miserable on offense, and it showed, Caden. This has been the best team all year. They were the best team in the regular season last year. They just need to learn, and they finally were able to put it all together. So props to the Thunder. Just wish it was on better terms without Tyrese Halliburton going out, Caden, because there's always that what if. But that happens every playoffs. Every single year a star goes down in every playoffs, every single sport. So part of the game, part of the way sports are played, you can't discredit the Thunder. They're not the ones who went out there and tore Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles. So props to them. You did get the pick right, Caden, on that one. And Shea definitely knocked off what was one of the greatest seasons we've seen in recent memory from his position. So props.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a couple things there. Where, yeah, you talk about how the Thunder were the best team all season. They're showing it after the game, a little bit on the post game. This Thunder team had 84 total wins this season, combined playoffs and regular season. That was tied for I believe it was tied for the third most all time. Behind, you had the 73 and 9 Warriors who won 88 games. There was the 72 and 10 Bulls. I think they won 86 because there was less playoff games at the time. And then there was another team in that Bulls dynasty, and this Thunder team right here, 84 total wins of the season. That's crazy when you really think about it. They won 84 games this year. Then, yeah, going back to Tyrese Halliburton, that does suck to see. You never want to see some of these top players in the league go out with not only an injury that knocks them out of the playoffs, but we're not going to see Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, or Damian Lillard basically all in next season. And we're not going to see Kyrie Irving for probably the first half of the season after he tore his ACL back in February. So we're already seeing four probably top 25 ish players in the league, uh,
Yep.
all either miss the entire season next year or going to be out for at least half the year. That does suck. And yeah, three Achilles in one playoffs is just kind of crazy.
Yeah, Caden. So I guess a lot of the talk around kind of Twitter and social media recently has been, do you think the NBA needs to shorten the season? So I guess if we got the time real quick, let's kind of jump that in. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it'll never happen. It's that simple. There is 0% chance the NBA would ever think about shortening the season when they make so much money for every single game. You're not gonna be like, yeah, let's cut off 10 games. See how the owners think about that. They'll be like, yeah, no, we're losing out on millions of dollars because we're losing not only broadcast deals, in-game attendance, all that type of sales. It's just, it's impossible. Like, people have talked about it in basketball. People said even like in baseball, they play 162. That some of the players are like, yeah, it's too many games. It's like, yeah, well, they're never going to shorten it. And even in the NFL, it had been a 16 for the longest time. They're like, well, but we could get more money if we had an extra game. Now we see the 17th game. There's talks that, and we'll probably see it in a couple years. We'll probably see an 18th game with an extra bye week. Like we're getting close to a 20-week NFL regular season. That, yeah, people might talk about it, say maybe it'd be a little better maybe for player health. But when you look at the league as a whole, all the owners stuff, there's a 0% chance they ever shorten the season.
I kind of agree with you on that one, Caden. As much as it would be beneficial for the players, and much like an all grass field on every playing surface for football. But that's a different topic for a different day. We'll get to that later on. Looking after the NBA Finals, Caden, a day before this NBA draft, we saw a big trade go on.
We've
Couple
seen
of
a couple big trades. I think we mentioned the Desmond Bain trade last week,
I think we
said a
did.
little bit about that. But yeah, on Sunday morning, really a couple hours before the NBA Finals, we see Kevin Durant finally get traded. Kevin Durant, not the Heat, not the Spurs, but the Rockets are your big winners. For KD, they didn't have to give up much for him either. It was Kevin Durant for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall pick in this year's draft, and then 5 second-round picks. I think this is a home run deal for the Rockets where, yeah, you might lose a little bit of defense when you're trading Dylan Brooks. Oh, well. And Jalen Green, he's just such a volatile player where, well, yeah, one night he could give you 35 points. Next game, he's shooting 4 of 24 from the field and being a complete detriment because he doesn't play defense. And then, yeah, you give up the number 10 overall pick. This team's already still so young. You got a bunch of just young players there where you still have Amen Thompson, who's going to keep growing. Jabari Smith. I mean, Reed. I mean, somehow they're able to get out of this without trading Reed Shepard, which I thought he was for sure going to be a player
Mm,
that the Rockets would have to give up to get KD. No, Reed Shepard, your number 3 overall pick just from last year, still on the team. That, yeah, now you're in more of a win now mode. You got the second seed in the Western Conference this year. Obviously fizzled out first round of the playoffs, but now you add Kevin Durant to a team that already has Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson. You still have Freddie Boy running point. Like you have Jabari Smith. This Thunder, not Thunder, this Rockets team is now very well built to be a very competitive team in the Western Conference. And now, on top of that, you also, a couple days before the trade, you extend Ime Udoka, who's one of the better coaches we have in the NBA.
mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a podcast back from November, December that's literally like Ime Udoka is a genius or one of the
Yeah,
best coaches because he's a great coach the way
for
he
sure.
role plays. And now you have him locked up. You have a lot of your core still together and you had one of the best scorers of all time. It's a win for the Rockets, and sucks if you're a Suns fan. Just all downhill. You're in full rebuild mode. Hopefully,
Yeah.
someone would
Right.
be stupid enough to trade for Bradley Beal, and he'll waive his no trade clause. But other than that, you got Devin Booker and just
Shame. Like that, the
other
Suns have
stuff.
always had the guy Devin Booker and a hope.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to get them too far, especially this Western Conference.
It's not going to get him in the playoffs, kid. But yeah, looking at that Rockets side, like you said, I was a huge fan of this move, Caden, because we've talked about this Rockets team all year. That they're kind of like the Thunder in a sense where they're very good in the regular season. They just need to learn how to win together, right? They got a couple pieces, a couple veterans on that team. You talked about Freddie Boy, but Kevin Durant is a two-time Finals MVP. He's a superstar. He is when he is going, Caden. He is a top three player in this NBA, right? When he's at his best, right? We're talking all-time career. When he's at his best, of active players, he's top three. And it's going to be very interesting to see, how he fits in, what the culture's like. Houston's a big city, right? It's kind of got that reputation of partying a little bit. We saw what James Harden, did back in the day in H Town. So it's going to see,
Oh yeah.
what the culture is like. We know Kevin Durant's someone who's a very big presence on social media. He likes to tweet. He likes to get in altercations. We're going to see what happens, how he fits, Caden, but I'm hoping all goes well in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, not only does he like to tweet, he likes to use multiple different accounts to come out and tweet. Has the burners locked and loaded, but I think either way, I mean, Phoenix, big city. He was in Brooklyn before. Like, he's been around this Golden State, it's not like, I mean, really his only small team was Seattle, then Oklahoma City. He's been with some big teams, big rosters ever since, like just cities. I
For
think
sure.
it will be a good fit because I'd assume, especially if you're a player on the Rockets, you're like, okay, this is our time now. We already had a good year, 50-win season
Yes.
just last year. We built on that. Now a lot of us have our first taste of playoff experience. And now, like you said, we're adding a two-time Finals MVP, future first ballot Hall of Famer to this team. I think they'll be excited, just ready to get going and start moving forward.
Most definitely. That trade was pretty big. Did we talk about the other one already?
No, we're going into it now where
Let's do
just
it.
last night, Shams broke the news that as the Celtics have to shed some salary this offseason so they can make sure to stay under that second apron, not have to deal with all that stupid stuff. I'm ready for the next CBA for the NBA before we even get into this because I have a feeling the second apron's going to go away come the next CBA.
There's a lot
No
of
one
dumb
likes
things
it.
that the NBA still has that they just got to
Yeah.
get.
But with kind of a salary dumping away from the Celtics, they trade Drew Holiday to the Trailblazers, and in return, they get two second-round picks and Anthony Simons. Max, I'll let you start off. What do you think about this trade?
Yeah, when you look at what the Celtics were able to do, it's very beneficial to them, right? You kind of got to play off of losing Jason Tatum. You're getting back, your point guard of the next season. You're feeling pretty comfortable with that. You're losing some defense, right? You're losing Drew Holiday was a big piece of that championship run. That is gonna suck, but it's a sacrifice. And I kind of do like this for both teams, if I'm being honest, Caden. I do think though that the Celtics, they got one again. They did it again. They make smart moves. There's a reason why the Celtics are in championship contention all the time. There's a reason why they've been so successful is because they make the right moves in the offseason. Very quickly after Jason Tatum went down, you're getting in, a player who's going to come command that team. And not only that, like you said, the big issue was the salary. Dumping a little bit of that, it's just a win-win.
Yeah, I do agree it's a win-win. I mean, Drew Holiday also didn't look as good last year as he did during the championship run, so he was the obvious candidate to get traded. I mean, we might still see more. Kristaps might be gone. Who knows? But yeah, you're bringing in someone in Anthony Simons, where while last year might have been a little bit of a down year comparatively to what we saw the last couple of seasons out of Simons, still a good year. Averaged 19 points on 42.5% shooting, shot 36% from three on 8.5 attempts per game. Like he was doing it. It's just you wanted to see, at least hopefully if you were a Blazers fan, you're hoping to see more of that 22 or like the 23 and 24 seasons where he was in above a 20-point game, shooting it a little more efficiently as well. Where, I mean, even just last season was 38.5% on the same amount of attempts from three, 43% from the field. Like the Celtics, they're good at this though, where you bring in a lot of these players, especially just shooters, and they're able to thrive in this system where, I mean, obviously, the Celtics, they put up threes and about 50% of their offensive possessions that ended shots are three pointers. You already have people like Derek White, I mean, Peyton Pritchard off the bench, Sam Hauser off the bench, the whole starting lineup from Kristaps, Tatum, Brown. the names I already mentioned. Now you bring in someone like Anthony Simons. He fits the mold of the offense that this team likes to play. You're going to go down there. You're going to chuck up threes. You're going to be good at shooting threes, or you're not going to play. And someone like Anthony Simons, while they hope he can get more to that 38, 40% shooting we saw a couple years ago, if you're getting him 36%, averaging about 20 points per game, that's big for that team who's going to be missing their best player for the whole year.
You hit it right on the head, Caden. It's going to be very interesting to see what the East looks like just as a whole, kind of looking forward
Yep.
from, like you said, with all these superstars out. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of, switching up some trades as there always is within the NBA. But as of now, it kind of looks like the East is going to be pretty open for whoever wants it next year. Moving on, Caden. We, at the start of this season, did our NBA stock market show where we went through, we gave our championship predictions, and then two players we thought would either rise or fall. And I don't think it was very good for either of us. You want to start off with what you think?
Oh, and we'll start off. Let's start off hot. Let's start off with the MVP talk because we each had two players we picked who could come out and win MVP. None of us picked Jokic because we knew even if he did have a season like he had this year, they weren't going to continue to give our boy Yoke MVP after MVP. We both had Luca. He had a great year. I mean, a little weird with the trade, obviously. He didn't end up winning it. Yeah, injury. You had Anthony Edwards. Good year. Good year. But I mean, I got to give myself props here. You can check the graphic on the Instagram. Go
You
back to the
can.
pod. Shea Gilgis Alexander, MVP. This was his year. I thought it was either him or Luca going to come in and get it because they just weren't going to give Yoke a fourth MVP in 5 years. That now you have Shea, leading scorer, all defensive team, now Finals MVP as well. Like he did everything, like checked every box this season for. I know you kind of mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the finals, just kind of like an all time run here by like for a single season. Like we saw it a couple years ago when Giannis was
Mm,
MVP DPOY and then won the finals as well on top of it. Like we don't see
yes.
these crazy just single player statistical seasons like this where they check every single box. And to see that out of Shea this year was kind of crazy.
Yeah, Caden, you hit that nail right on the head. You called that, and and I'll say, I admit, I was wrong. I was on Anthony Edwards. Minnesota Timberwolves being able to knock them off in the playoffs. I thought that team would be able to come along a lot better than it did. But the Timberwolves are the Timberwolves, and I guess we know that. So, outside of that, I think Ant played fine, like you said. He had a good year, not nothing crazy. Um, and shout out Shea. Like we've mentioned, he is, all credit to him, the development, the growth, being able to elevate his game with his team and everything. A lot of props. And you know what? He earned the respect of the refs too.
Oh, he definitely earned the respect. Something Jokic is still trying for is getting the respect of the refs. Get
Oh,
those foul calls.
had to add
But
in there.
yeah, I was just gonna move on. But if you have something else to add to that,
Well, no, I was gonna move on as well.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, now if we look at the teams and players we had for stock rising and our decreasing, starting with the decreasing, I'll give us our good first, then we can go on the bad. We both said that the Suns' downfall was here, and we hit that right on the nail. I mean, Bradley Beal is a $50 million player who they benched. You had Yusuf Nurkic looking awful. Your only good players were Kevin Durant, who was injured for part of the season, and then Devin Booker. But yeah, the Suns, Matt Ishbia, when he bought the team, tried to really go for it, and what he did just wasn't the right moves in the end. And now the Phoenix fans, they're reeling right now. So we did hit that one on the head, but the players we thought would have some down seasons. You said our boy Kevin Durant, which we just talked about, and then I said the star player from the number one seed in the Eastern Conference and Donovan Mitchell. So we were both very wrong on that front.
Yeah. For sure, Cade. And I was kind of going off of I didn't think that the Suns would be very good, and I thought part of that would be an injured Kevin Durant not playing a bunch. But the problem was when he did play, played very well. Kevin Durant was
Yep.
not the issue on this Suns team. He was still giving you 30, and he was still doing what he got to do, right? But he's gonna be on a new team. He's out, so in a sense, that's another knock on him, I guess, for another super team ring chase that didn't work.
Yeah.
But whatever. Players that I said would rise, I guess we could hop into real quick.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I'd like to talk about
oh,
how I
sorry.
completely missed on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
Unless we
yeah.
want to gloss over that, how the Cavs,
Sorry.
were the number one team in the Eastern Conference and leading. Oh, well, okay, I'll talk about this. We just got a new trade. Chums just broke a new trade. We'll get into that in a second. But,
Oh, Giants broke a trade on air.
but starting with Donovan Mitchell, yeah, he was the catalyst, the leader for this Cavs team. Still averaged close to 30 points. I thought what we saw last year with the Cavs, where they kind of fizzled in the playoffs, like the offense wasn't looking great. Their defense was still good, but they didn't look like they were able to produce much offensively. I thought new head coach and Kenny Atkinson, I didn't know how well it would mold there in Cleveland. It ended up molding very well. Him and Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland were such a great duo
Yes.
up there at the top. We saw Evan Mobley win DPOY. Jared Allen looked like it's just an all-around great performance by the Cavs this year. And on top of that was their star player in Donovan Mitchell. But now, like I said, breaking trade, and it's a Pelicans and Wizards trade. Not two teams people thought would maybe be trading with each other, but
Zion get
the
traded?
The Pelicans are trading CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second rounder to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the number 40 pick in this year's NBA draft. So I guess we got our instant reactions to this.
All right. Well, that's a trade of all time.
Like
You swapping mid players?
I I don't understand this for either side.
I don't like it at all.
Like I like what CJ McCollum was doing in uh, New Orleans last season. Like him when DeJounte Murray was healthy, when Zion was healthy, you still had Bi. Like I thought that team was nice.
When
Obviously, you
Zion
traded
is
Brandon
healthy.
Ingram, which is never, but they trade Brandon Ingram and DeJounte Murray tore his I think it was his ACL during the season, and now you're trading him to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, who's about as probably as good as CJ McCollum, like same type of caliber player, and Sadiq Bey, who's never really done much of anything in the league. Like he's shown flashes that he could be a good 3-point shooter, but it's never been sustained over a full season, even like half a season, where we've seen him be an elite 40+% 3-point shooter. And then yeah, you get a second rounder this year on top of it, and throwing away a second rounder next year, and Kelly Olynyk, who I actually bet you could have found contenders who are willing to trade for Kelly Olynyk, maybe give you a little more. I guess the Pelicans just really wanted Jordan Poole wearing a New Orleans jersey.
All right. Like I said, one of
I
the trades of all time.
One of the trades of all time for sure. Now I guess going back to what we talked about in our stock market episode, where the teams we said our stock was rising for, Max just went straight homer, said the Denver Nuggets,
And they did not rise.
and they did ours. We saw a lot of turmoil
They
actually in that
crumbled. Actually,
franchise.
I was gonna say they crumbled. They should have been a faller. The Nuggets
And
fired the
then
whole front office. They still don't have a GM, and the draft's
whoa,
like,
whoa, they have two GMs. They have two GMs now.
oh, yeah, they're not even called GMs.
They don't have an official GM, but it's Ben Tenzer, who was the interim GM, and then they brought over another got to be the
Yeah,
vice president of
vice
player
president.
personnel, so now they're running dual GMs, I guess. And then I mean, I said the Spurs. I thought this would be a big jump for San Antonio,
Correct.
and I'm not
Yes.
gonna. That's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna fault myself too much on this because we didn't see Wemby play the last third of the season because of the blood clots. And right when that, if that didn't happen, I do think I could have considered that a win. If this, because I think after the trade for De'Aaron Fox, this team could have found their way into maybe a play-in. Had a little.
Okay,
postseason with
you know
air
what?
quotes
You're right.
basketball. It's just you have Wemby go at the book. It's like it's definitely not a win, but I'm not counting that like as a big miss really, just because their best player missed the final third of the season. But like other than that, it was not a great season out of San Antonio in total though. And then our players, we said stock was rising. I said Paulo Banchero, where hey, he had a really good season. Like we might have not seen. I mean, the Magic made the playoffs again, another first round exit. They're trying to change things with Desmond Bain, and it was kind of interesting timing because I say this in the stock market has a 50-point game 3 games into the season. Me and Max are talking about that back in end of October, start of November on the pod. Right after that, has a ruptured. It was his quad, yeah, ruptured quad out until after the All Star break, where I guess kind of like the Spurs, I was plagued by injuries on the players slash teams I said were rising, but I still think Paolo he showed he was worth that max extension they gave him. Really showing he rose to another level this year as well. I think, especially offensively, him and Franz were I mean both like if I would have said Franz Wagner after he got that crazy super max, I would have hit that out of the park. Because I don't think anyone expected him to have the season like he had, even though he also had a ruptured quad somehow. But yeah, I mean, Paul Boncaro had a great year. I think just another thing for him to build on, keep going, and be an all NBA caliber player going into next season. And then you said the man who would miss 3 seasons in the league, Alonzo Ball.
You know what? Which he would played a lot more this year than he did any other year, Caden.
Hey,
Field goal percentage was still 36%, not very good from the field. Mr. Ball's still finding his footing, right? But hey,
uh,
I say the fact that he actually made it all the way through this year, um, is
is
a
a
win for
win.
him. So he
Oh,
rose.
100%. In a way, yeah. Like yours is not really a miss, as just the expectations for Lonzo Ball going into the season were basically nothing. It's like, oh, it's going to be cool seeing him back on the court. And for him
For
to actually be able to stay healthy, play basically the entire season, is huge for him to actually getting back onto having a what could possibly be a successful NBA career. Like,
for sure. And
yeah,
exactly like
I was just saying, I think that's just big for him, and that's the reason like why I'd give you like a slight win on this because while the numbers might have not been greater, I think back to what we saw. He hadn't played in like 3 years, and for him to
correct.
get on the court, play, I mean, it's hard to call them meaningful minutes because it's for the Bulls, but playing minutes and actually be able to stay healthy for the season is huge for him as he just continues to go.
Definitely, Caden. And like I said, he was a player that I'll be rooting for just because the amount of hate. Got the pressure, and we saw the thing that happened with his father too this past few months ago. With the amputation and everything, Lavar. So just wanted to put good energy out. So shout out the balls.
Shout out the balls, baby. And yeah, I mean, we don't have any pre-draft talk for you for this year's draft. I mean, we'll have an NBA episode out for you guys probably next week, talking about some of the drafts, some of the top picks, what do we think the fits and all that stuff are. But
Maybe other
none
trades
of
that
this,
happen.
some other big trades, because I assume we'll see some stuff, especially as we're getting closer and closer to the draft, as it's just tomorrow night or tonight, as you guys are seeing this come out, that we'll probably see some more. We'll have some more NBA coverage coming your way next week. As the season now, though, is officially over until October. It's the dog
It
days of
is.
summer now, Max. We got baseball, UFC, and golf. That's it until
Hey,
the end of August.
we got some football action coming soon, guys.
We
Don't you
do.
worry. I'm gonna be at the Big 12 media day here in less than 2 weeks in Frisco, so we can do a little bit something about some college football action soon.
Oh, well, we'll get going. I mean, once we get more into July and August. Get ready for a lot of more football episodes, like kind of like what me and Dwyer did for baseball. We're gonna go in, especially for NFL. We'll do all 32 teams, win
Yes.
totals over under. We're gonna do stock markets for both college football and NFL. We'll probably do some win totals for college football as well. Just really get into that before the season is. Last year we really started right about week 1, so we have this whole offseason. We're gonna get you a lot of football
Yes.
content coming soon, a lot of baseball, a lot of golf, UFC pod coming out this Friday for you guys. previewing the beautiful, beautiful fight card we have this weekend as well.
Yeah, last year was a filler, guys. We started a little late. We were trying to get the podcast up and running. We know what we're doing now. We got a system. We're getting established on the socials. It's all coming together. The plan's all coming together. But as always, we appreciate you guys. We thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.